Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears and the Turnpike of Totaled Trucks. We are here with my 1982 Chevy S-10 pickup. And in this video, we're not going to be working on it. That's it. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, and comment. I'm just kidding. While we are not going to be working on this truck, the circumstances which led us to not being able to work on this truck is actually pretty interesting. And I want to tell that story because I was ready to get started swapping the engine on this thing to get it on the road for the first time in several years, but I got scammed. So I'm going to tell that story. Also in this video, I want to talk about why this worthless old square body is special to me enough to put the effort into it in the first place. But first, I want to tell you about what happened in the last couple of months with this truck. Let me pick up the camera. We'll walk and talk. So last time we checked in on this truck, I had done a lot of work to sort out the vacuum system, to repair the fire damage, to replace fuel lines, and really got to know this truck pretty well. And unfortunately, in the last week or so, we've had some rat activity, which really upsets me. That's one reason why I'm really anxious to get started on this thing. It's just these trucks sitting outside, entropy is accelerated by rat activity, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. But the story of this motor goes back to November, which is, as of recording this, about 4 weeks ago. I was ready to get started on this truck, and because, as you know, if you watch this video, you would know that I need a truck. And I pretty much say it in every single video for the past year or so that I've needed a truck. And now I have 4. So I was in search for a motor, but not just any motor. These motors are directly compatible with the 94-95 Camaro V6, the 3.4 liter engine. And what's cool about this is that the 3.4 bolts up to the manifolds, to the heads. In fact, it even has the exact same heads from my understanding. The only difference is that you would have to add an inline fuel pump. So the cool thing about this is that I could do an easy, cheap, direct swap into this thing. I wouldn't have to rewire the truck. I wouldn't have to LS swap it. I wouldn't have to do anything really, really crazy to it. Just a really mild and easy 50 horsepower. And that sounds like a lot of fun in this little chassis. It doesn't need a whole lot more power. And the motor that's in it is a 2.8, and it has 2 dead cylinders anyway, so it needs to come out. One way or another, that motor needs to come out regardless of what I put in it. So I figure, why not get an extra 50 horsepower? So I was in search of a motor, and I found one online at a company that calls them First Used Auto Parts. And it all looked pretty good. The website looked legit. They didn't have a lot of reviews. It looked like kind of a new operation, which should have been the first red flag. It kind of was. I mean, I wasn't completely unaware of the fact that there's scammers out there in the car industry. But I contacted them anyway, just to see what they're about. And one of the things that made me feel better about it was that the address they listed on their website was just a few miles away from me in Glendale. So I gave them a call, and the guy that answered says, I can get you a motor for $800, something like $884 or something like that. And that seemed like a reasonable price. And so he asked me for my address, and I gave it to him. And this was kind of another red flag, because the street I live on requires you to spell it out, because it can be spelled in a number of different ways. So the fact that he didn't ask me to spell out the name of the street I live on kind of made me think, that's a little interesting. So after I gave him my address, he asked me to pay him through Zelle. And, well, I don't do Zelle for a number of reasons. First, my bank doesn't really play well with Zelle. I've never actually been able to get it to work, even when I've tried. And second, Zelle doesn't offer any kind of protection against scammers. It just takes the money out of your bank account, and if you got scammed, you're screwed. So I told him I can't do Zelle because it doesn't work with my bank. Can we do Venmo? And after about a half hour or so, he gets back to me, and he says, yeah, sure, we'll do Venmo. So he sends me a contact, and I sent him the $884 or whatever. And Payment went through, and I said, okay, I'm going to get it. He said, we'll deliver it to you within a few days. We have a driver that is going that direction anyway, and it will be really easy to drop off. So I said, fantastic. It sounded okay. So the motor was supposed to arrive on a Friday. I believe it was a Wednesday when we made the transaction. And he asked me specifically, do you have the means to unload it? And I said, I'll just go get a cherry picker. No big deal. I'll run down to Harbor Freight. I need to get one anyway so that I could pull the motor on the Camaro. I can make it happen. So while I was waiting for this motor to arrive, I rushed down to Harbor Freight, grabbed a cherry picker, spent way more than I wanted to on it, and assembled it in a hurry the morning it was supposed to arrive. Well, it never arrived. And so I called him, and he didn't pick up the phone. And called him again. He didn't pick up the phone. He would only answer via text. And while he thought he was avoiding me, it turned out he was actually helping me out a lot by only responding by text. So I asked him, is it supposed to arrive? And he says, the driver got delayed. It'll be there Monday. So whatever. I waited for Monday. Stayed home waiting for it, never showed up. And he says, okay, it'll be there tomorrow. Tuesday comes around. And I said, okay, so is it going to be here today? Never showed up. Wednesday, never showed up again. And so Wednesday night, it became apparent that I was getting scammed. So I sent him a text. I said, refund my money now, or we're going to have a problem. So Thursday comes around, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to get in the car, and I'm going to roll down to Glendale, go to that address, get in their face, and see what's going on. And sure enough, it's not even the same business. In fact, I believe it was a collections agency at that building. And so I found somebody at the front desk, and I said, is this your address? I showed them the website with their address on their website. And they said, yes, this is our address, but we've never heard of these people. So I said, okay, tell you what, I'm getting scammed. So if I can just get a business card so that I can prove that you are at this address, not them, I'm going to go down to Glendale PD and report this. And so as I'm leaving this building, I thought, I'm going to send this guy one last text. I said, hey, so I'm at the address listed on your website, and crazy thing, it's not your business at all. Please send me my refund because my next stop is Glendale PD. The Glendale Police Department was just a few blocks away from that building, so I went straight over there, reported it. They took an incident number, gave it to me, and recorded everything down. And they also gave me a referral to the FBI Cybercrimes Division. And so as I'm telling the story to the officer, he said, oh, I'm sorry to hear about getting scammed. I said, I think I'll be okay. I sent the money through Venmo with purchase protection. And he just laughs. He says, yeah, you're going to get your money back. So I go home. I submit the form to FBI Cybercrimes Division. I file a dispute with Venmo, and I file a dispute with my bank just in case. My bank replied, and they said, if Venmo doesn't come through, call us, and we'll help you resolve it. But Venmo has a 10-day response policy. So when you submit a dispute on Venmo, the seller has 10 days to respond. And if they don't respond, you get your money back by default. And that's exactly what happened. Day 11, I got my money back. And so while I did get my money back, this was a really good experience in terms of getting scammed and knowing what to look out for and just protecting yourself along the way. I still don't have a motor, and that's what sucks the most. And so I went back out on the hunt for a motor, and I reached out to Blue Motors, who I get all of my Honda stuff from. And he referred me to another place just around the corner from him down in Sun Valley. I called him. I forget the name of the business.
Norris Auto Dismantling.
He said that he has one for $1,200. Now, that's a significant jump up from $500, but it exists. I can go see it myself before I give him money. So $1,200, I don't think I'm going to do much better than $1,200 for a motor for this truck. And that's kind of another reason why we're not working on it, because I can afford $500. I can't afford $1,200 right now. I have to get through some big expenses, property tax. I've got construction costs, and I've got homeowners insurance coming up in February. So I have to make sure that that is all taken care of before I go spending money on something that I don't absolutely need to spend money on, even though I really do need a truck. I also need to record content. This is the next project that I want to work on for this channel, and I can't do that without a motor. We're going to try to make this happen as soon as possible, but in the meantime, we've got some more house content to do, and hopefully another few smaller projects along the way. Maybe we'll get working on the Camaro. But now you know the story of why we're not working on this truck and how I got scammed and how, more importantly, how I protected myself along the way so that I got my money back. Now that that story is out of the way, let's talk about why this truck is special to begin with. And I'm going to pick up the camera again and we'll walk around because this requires a little bit of setup. You're probably thinking, well, why are you even working on this stupid little Chevy S-10 to begin with when you've got so many really cool trucks behind you? And yeah, that's a valid question. The 82 S-10 is objectively worthless. Maybe in good running condition, couple grand. In really nice condition, 3 or 4. But that's not why I want to work on it and get it on the road. So this story goes back to about 2021. I was working on a remodel of my rental house next door. My tenant had moved out and I wanted to remodel it before getting a new tenant in. And during that time, my uncle was in town, my dad's brother. And we were clearing out my grandparents' house and kind of resolving their affairs because my grandpa had just been moved to a memory care facility in Michigan. So this was like the last, year or two of his life that we were really getting ready for. And we were selling off their things. I had sold previously 2 of their cars and given the profits over to my uncle for their estate. And we were clearing out their house. So I told my dad's brother, my uncle, that I needed a truck because this remodel was really, really hard on my Jeep. I was putting a lot of miles on it, towing way above its capacity. And my grandpa had a low mileage 99 Silverado in Montana. And this truck had probably like 44,000 miles on it. It was pristine, mint condition. Not only that, but it was also the most tricked out truck that you could get from a dealer at that time. It had the towing package. It had leather. It had 4-wheel drive. It wasn't a Z71, but it was a 4x4, and it had all of the luxury options. It was a great truck. And so I told him, look, I want this to be transactional. I will give you market value for this truck. And then make it my problem. It may need a fuel pump because it's been sitting for a long time. It may need a battery because it's been sitting for a long time. That'll be my problem. I'll give you market value. I'll fly up to Montana and I'll drive it down. It'll be an adventure. And my uncle said, no, I really think I can get more by selling it on the open market. And that really hurt for a number of reasons. For one, he wasn't willing to help me. And 2, he was willing to put profit over family. And that really hurt. I want to make it clear that any of those hard feelings, any of those emotions, all of that has long since been resolved. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because it is an integral part of the story of what makes this Chevy S-10 special. So after that fell through, I still didn't have a truck. And I was actually really down on myself at the time. I was still pressing forward with the remodel, but I was just really pissed off about it. So I was looking for other projects, looking to help people in exchange for eventually a truck. And that's actually how I ended up getting this Camaro. If you remember, this was part of what I was calling an upgrade and trade. It was really definitely just a repair and get a shitty car out of it. I wanted to do that in exchange for a truck. And so about December of 2021, I had long since finished my rental property and got an amazing tenant in, but I was still on the hunt for a truck. And my Uncle Doug out in Lancaster had posted a photo that it had snowed in Lancaster. The photo was of his backyard, and it was full of trucks. And I knew my Uncle Doug. Most of them didn't run. And so I sent him a message. I said, hey, how would you like it if I fixed one of your cars in exchange for a truck, because I need a truck? And my Uncle Doug writes back and says, come take this S-10. Just come get it. And I said, what, you don't want me to help you with anything? You don't want me to fix up one of your trucks in exchange for it? You don't want money for it? He says, no, just come take it. It's yours. Come get it. And that, considering what I had been through earlier that year, that really struck a chord with me, because my Uncle Doug was not a man of means. He didn't have anything to give, but he still had something to give. And that was really kind of a life lesson to me, because it showed me that this was a man that cared about family. This was a man that wanted to help people. After he told me to come get this truck, I went up there, I took a look at it, spent some time with him, and really actually had a good time hanging out with him. And so I went back up there again about a month later, and I got the truck. I helped him move a bunch of stuff in order to make way to clear the path for it. We got it on the trailer, and I brought it home, and now I have this S-10. And that wasn't the last I saw of him, because as it turned out, I really enjoyed hanging out with him. And so after I got the truck, I ended up helping him out with a bunch of other things. He had been scammed, and he had some identity theft problems, and so I helped him out with that. And I just made an effort to go up there and see him as much as I could. Several times I would bring my cousin up with me, and that way we could go visit him together. And that was even better than going to visit him alone, because it was, a really great dynamic. We could help each other out. We could do things, and we just had a really great time visiting my uncle. And I'm really grateful for that experience, because it was short-lived, because he died. If you follow this channel, if you're part of the family, you know he died in July of this year. And it really shook me, because going up there to visit him, I knew I didn't have a lot of time. But I was expecting, 10 years. I wasn't expecting it to be 2 years. So it was still really sudden, and he had a lot to leave behind. No money, but he had a wealth of vehicles, wealth of tools, and honestly, I've had this tool chest and his tools for almost 6 months now, and I gotta tell you, it actually is life-changing. This makes everything so much better, because everything is accessible. I don't need to spend a lot of time looking for tools. I could just go up to the tool chest and have the tools. But also, it's inspiring, because he's with me, and he is encouraging me, and he is inspiring my creativity and challenging me to do great things with these tools. And that's why that truck is important to me. I asked around to see if that particular Chevy S-10 had a story beyond the story that I have to tell, and it really doesn't. He bought that thing for about $1,200 in Oregon, because he needed a running truck. He drove it around for a couple of years, and it caught fire. That's the story. But that truck story is my story to tell, and that's what makes it special, and that's why I want to work on it. So let me pick up this camera, and we're going to talk about the plans with this truck. So as I've mentioned earlier, I'm on the hunt for an engine for this thing, and once we do an engine swap, I want to get this thing on the road running and driving, and I'm going to use it as a truck while I'm working on these other trucks. So in the long term, I do want to sell it. I want this truck to have a new life. I want to try to make it as nice as I can. So I need to do things like fix the window so that it doesn't leak, do any kind of rust repair. There's not a lot of rust on it, so this really just needs to be, treated so that it doesn't get worse. I don't want to restore it, obviously, because it's definitely not worth that, but I want to prevent it from getting worse. because in its current state, it's actually really cool. And I think this truck over time is going to be more desirable. It's going to age well. And I love the two-tone color scheme. So I just think if I can make this a nice looking, nice running truck, then I can probably sell it for what I have into it. I'm not really looking to make a profit. I'm just looking to get this old thing back on the road and be useful, because it's not doing anybody any good sitting in my yard. And once that truck is running, need to work on this 1950 Pilot House. This is a very, very cool Dodge, but it does need a significant amount of work. Thankfully, it looks like the rats haven't been up here, so that's kind of good. Once this truck is out of the way, I want to work on the pickle truck. This is called the pickle truck for a reason. I've mentioned it before, and we're going to talk about it over and over again because it is just very, very, very cool. This is a 51 Pilot House on an 87 Dakota frame. So this is just very cool, very custom, and I'm never giving this up. Once I have this on the road, this is my forever truck, because I mean, this is something that my Uncle Doug was really, really proud of, put a lot of work into it. And it's a really great showcase of who he was. So the idea here is that I'm going to use that other bed and combine these two together to make a 7-foot bed. And this is just going to be the most useful thing I could ever hope to have. It's so cool. So I'm really looking forward to this project. And then after that, we've also got the Studebaker. The Studebaker runs, but it needs major, major suspension work. And I need to take apart the rear end, try to take apart the rear end to replace the brake drum parts in the back. And so that's it for this video. I know it was a little bit of a story time instead of actually doing work. Not the usual kind of content that I do, but I think this story was worth telling, and I hope you agree. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, and comment. If you don't like what you see, leave a comment anyway. You know, most of the time when people leave shitty comments, I have fun with it. I'll pin it to the top, I'll clown on them a little bit, and laugh it off. But sometimes it just rubs me the wrong way. If you want to educate me, if you want to help, you can be helpful. You don't have to be a smug piece of crap about it. And that's the kind of stuff that rubs me the wrong way. And even worse than that is that if you're going to be smug about your knowledge, then I'm not going to benefit from that knowledge. And that's disappointing. It's disappointing for me, and I'm disappointed in you if you want to be a smug piece of shit about knowing something that I don't know. You know, this is a journey. I'm learning as I go. I don't know hardly anything about these trucks. I just have good general knowledge and lots of knowledge on the 3rd generation Honda Prelude. So if you're in this journey with me, you're part of my learning experience. And if you know something that I don't know, be a mentor. Don't be a dick. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.